We are going to discuss the syntax of the Jack language in 4 separate units, beginning with the syntax of the language. And the syntax will be demonstrated using some of the examples that, the programming examples that we saw before. So here's the code of our program, average computation program. The code itself is completely meaningless in this unit. We're interested in the code only from a syntactical standpoint. So in particular, we're going to look at the items that you see here on the screen, beginning with white space. So white space are comments and the spaces that we introduce into the code. And as we see here, we have 3 types of comments. We discussed them in one of the previous units. And I repeat here for completion the rules of Jack comments. Okay, moving along, we'll now talk about keywords. And in this code, we have quite a few keywords in action. And in the Jack language, altogether, we have something like 20 keywords that fall into different categories, as you see here. In Java, we have something like, I think, 60 or 70 keywords. So, in terms of order of magnitude, it's the same number of keywords. Both languages are quite simple in that respect. And some of the keywords of Jack are standard, keywords like while, class, function, void. And other keywords are non-standard, like var, let, and do. The non-standard keywords were introduced to the language intentionally in order to make the writing of the compiler easier, as we will do, as you will see in the next module of the course. So when you write programs in Jack, you may be a little bit tired to use these keywords let and do, although you get used to it very quickly. And yet, when you write the compiler of the Jack language, you will be grateful that we have these peculiar prefixes. All right, moving along, each Jack program or any other program in any other language has lots of symbols in it, and the symbols are all these little thingies here. And some of these symbols are used for grouping purposes, and other symbols are used for all sorts of other purposes. And if you want, you can stop the video and read this information, which is not terribly exciting. Moving along, the language has the capability to describe constants. And we have, let's see, we have integer constants, we have string constants. Let me highlight them. Integer constants, string constants. What we don't have in this example are also Boolean constants, true and false, and we also have null, which is a constant. So, all these different constants are listed in this write-up here, which you can read later if you want. And finally, we have identifiers. And identifiers are actually the bulk of any program that you see. And in this example, we have, as usual, most of the code is identifiers. The identifiers are the names that the programmer invents when he or she creates variables, classes, and methods. And these names have certain rules on what constitutes a valid identifier. And I just want to point out once again that Jack and Java in their own right are very simple languages. What makes these languages powerful, in particular Java, is the fact that the programmer is free to create a whole world of his or her own. And this world typically consists of classes and methods and APIs. And most of the code that the programmers write is in fact those little languages that he or she creates when they design these APIs. And we see it here. You see, we see keyboard, dot, readint, and so on. All these little languages consist of identifiers that the programmer has invented. And that's why it's also so important to come up with good identifiers, because it will make your code much more readable. So to recap, we saw all these syntax elements of the language, and in the next unit we are going to discuss the data types which are available in Jack.